Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Angli Et Nex here, and I was just going to do a little bit of coaching today. One of my buddies brought me a video in his review of his gear and build, and so I was just going to stream that and just show you a little bit, at least, of what my new branch is going to be about trying to do coaching, making sure people are getting the proper insight that they need for the game, and really just rotation, placement in dungeons, things like that. This was kind of an impromptu review, at least on this regard, because this is one of my buddies that I play often with, but it should be okay. It's not a full dungeon run, but you're going to see his gear, stats, build, everything like that, and then he's going to do rotations on the target dummies in the stronghold. So you're going to see a little bit of that, and I'll just walk over pretty much what he is going with and rotation wise. So let's jump on in here. So looking at his gear, no real offensive on that helmet, but that's okay. Recovery's always nice. Power and crit on there as well, both good. As far as this gear, just looking at it, it all looks pretty standard. It's not a big deal. Okay, got the Cholt weapons, which for all of you guys that don't know, the Cholt weapons are super cheap. If you're looking for a quick upgrade to your weapons, the Cholt weapons are easily attainable on the auction house, usually around like 20 to 30k per weapon, which is not terrible at all. So all in all, at least for the left hand side of your gear, it looks okay. Obviously lantern is good. A lot of these things can still use some work, obviously, for upgrading. Sigil of the controller is good. Now the Horn of the Valhalla, I know you were just filling a spot there, so, and same with this one as well. The best thing about Heart of the Green Dragon is the armor pen, but Valhalla Horn, you could probably drop that pretty easy. But I think you were just filling spots because this is an alt. And that belt, good offensive stats, but strength and wisdom is not really your forte. And looks like you pounded a lot of points into intelligence, which is good because that's your main damage. And you are a master of flame as well. Okay. So armor pen is severely low, recovery is really high. So you could obviously reduce some of your recovery for armor pen. You definitely want to get as close to that soft cap as possible, which is 85%. All the rest of your stats look okay for where you're at. And then build wise, let's see, just running through a few of it here. You got 5 of 5 and the increased damage from intelligence, and then the rest of this looks good except for Abyss of Chaos. That doesn't proc the way that it's supposed to anymore, so I would take the one right above it, just to help buff up your team, give them extra critical and things like that. But other than that, that all looks pretty solid to me. You got your encounter cooldowns, everything like that, boons, lifesteal for defensive, and then power for offensive, which is just fine. And for Sharandar, looks good. You went straight across the bottom, so offense straight across the board pretty much. Take a look at Dread Ring here. Dread Ring, same thing. Pretty much looks like offensive across the board, except for the one that was like right here. but that's not that big of a deal. That gives you an extra heal and extra defense, so that's not a big deal. Underdark didn't have anything, which is okay. I know this is an alt. All that looks good. Offense straight across the board again. And yeah, it looks like you've got a handle on your boons, so it is all offense straight across the board. Yeah, offense straight across the board, empty, and I believe this last one is empty as well. Yep. So obviously those are the two newer ones, so you still have some work to do, obviously. So let's look at your rotation. Got Conduit of Ice in your Spell Mastery, Icy Terrain, Disintegrate, and Fanning the Flames. Okay, so first things first here, when this right here goes on cooldown, or comes off cooldown, it needs to be the first thing that you reactivate, mainly because that is going to be your highest form of chill stacks and DPS. It's in your spell mastery for a reason, so you get that wide AoE. If you don't have it in your spell mastery, it's literally going to be like this big. But since you got it in your spell mastery, it's now hitting all three of those dummies, so it's almost triple the size. So because of that, that's kind of a big deal to have it in your spell mastery, and that's going to put chill stacks on each one of these three dummies. But let's continue here. Okay, and here you have literally everything off cooldown, and you're continuing to throw your at-wills. If I didn't know who you were and know what your main was, I would honestly still say that I can tell you main a great weapon fighter, because you are literally sitting down here holding your right trigger. Control wizards do not deal a whole lot of damage with their at-wills. They're basically just there as a buffer. Chilling Cloud does give you chill stacks on your targets, but it is not a huge damage dealer. These that are circled right here are your biggest damage dealers. And again, you did Icy Terrain over Conduit of Ice. And the other biggest thing is you are proccing Fanning the Flames after everything else. As soon as you see crits coming up on your screen, honestly the rotation that I would do is Conduit of Ice. So let's just do a pause right here. This is going to be your number 1. This will be your number 2. No, excuse me. Sorry, that was bad. This will be your number 2. This should be your number 3. And then this is number 4. And the reason for this is because with Conduit of Ice, you're getting your chill stacks. Icy Terrain, you're getting your chill stacks and proccing your criticals. So when you're proccing your criticals, Fanning the Flames needs to come out to further ramp up your damage and spread Smolder to your other targets. And then at the end, Disintegrate comes out to execute the target. So just keep that in mind when you're doing all this. And you're throwing in a couple of dailies here, I would imagine. That there's an Ice Knife, okay. And there was a Scorching Burst from your left trigger. So the biggest part of this, just rotation needs some work. like I said, just Conduit of Ice 1, Icy Terrain 2, Fanning the Flames 3, and then Disintegrate to execute. If you haven't DPS'd them down far enough to the point where you can just execute with Disintegrate at that point, then yes, start using your at-wills more frequently. But, and it looks like you're right here at the end. So all in all, it was good. Everything looked good. Just work on that rotation. Remember, 1, 2, 3, and 4 right here. It needs to go in that order to optimize your DPS. And as a Master of Flame, you lose a little bit because you're not a Spellstorm, especially if you're going pure DPS, which you're actually going as a buffer because you're in mostly Renegade, but you can still deal a lot of damage out of the Renegade tree. There's actually the most damage to be had out of the Renegade tree if you're feated correctly, which obviously the only thing I saw in your feats was the Abyss of Chaos. But other than that, it all looks good. Things that can be changed within your gear, obviously, that Horn of Valhalla is not going to help you really at all. That's not meant for a control wizard. That's for tanks, for pallies, and guardian fighters. So it's not really, but it's probably just something you had laying around. So I understand that. Just trying to fill holes. But if you do want to get serious about it, I would run. If you're trying to go straight DPS and not being a buffer, which by your skills, your powers here, you're going to be DPS. You need to be doing probably the Soul Sight Crystal as your main active, because you get a stupid amount of damage increase. Either that or the Wheel of Elements. The Wheel of Elements obviously gives you a smaller buff for longer, but in burner groups, you know those fights don't last a full 30 seconds or things like that. So the Soul Sight Crystal is the main one that I think most people are going to be switching to for the boss burn as of right now. Other than that, Lantern is good. Controller Sigil is good. So just think about maybe dropping that Heart of the Green Dragon. Obviously is giving you armor pen, which is okay for right now because you want to stack up that armor pen, but that horn is not going to do anything for you. And then other stats wise, you just have a lot of recovery and very minimal armor pen, and your crit is pretty low. I try to maintain a 2-to-1 ratio from power to crit, so you're at 26,000 crit and 8,000 power. That's less than a third for crit to power ratio. So I would work that up a little bit more, focus on your crit. I don't know what bondings you have on, you didn't show companions, but try and stack that crit and armor pen on your bondos. But other than that, it's all pretty good. Obviously everyone needs a little bit of work. I still screw up by rotations at times, but I think this was just kind of a lack of general understanding of what the proper rotation for it may be. And I know you're rushing this out to try and get me on a review and all that thing, so I appreciate it. But with that though, just keep plugging away, keep smashing out your boons, and you'll be running high DPS with good groups here in no time. So for all you guys here on YouTube, on Twitch, this is the first of my coaching reviews. This one's obviously a little bit different. So for normal coaching reviews, as you can see on my Twitch page, you can hit me up at any of these social medias, you know, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. You can comment on my YouTube videos, and you can even send me private messages to the Facebook that is down below this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, questions about coaching, be sure to just message me. Comments are probably going to get kind of pushed aside just because I get a lot of spam comments on my videos. So if you really are interested, message me on any 4 of those social medias. And as usual, guys, be sure to like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, to my Twitch channel. subscribing, donating, liking, doing all that stuff is what helps keep me afloat here. So and it helps make me successful. So if you guys don't mind doing that, then I'm gonna sign off here. You guys have a wonderful midweek. It is Wednesday, late Wednesday, but have a good rest of your week, and I will see you next time.